Hello friends, my name is Rustem Dervish. Today we will cook a traditional Crimean Tatar dish, one of our favorite dishes. And we will cook it today in the oven, this old, ancient bread oven. We start as usual, all with fire. The whole sacrament begins with fire, sets fire to our furnace. Well, the most delicious food, of course, is obtained in the oven, because this smoke gives a special taste. All the fire is on, and we go to the kitchen and continue there. So we start working with flour. He laid a towel so that our board did not move. Today we cook in such a modern, beautiful kitchen, where it is most convenient for us to cook. Well, before, when they cooked with flour, the hostess began to work with flour, with dough, with bread. There was a special attitude. Before starting work with flour, lay a large tablecloth, which was called kamerbez, or is also spoken in another region amorbez, safra. That is, first they laid the fabric, and then they set up the table, and only then did they start working so that nothing would wake up anywhere. There was a very serious attitude to bread, to food. They didn't scatter, as they do today. We can see in some foreign films how food is thrown. Well, is it possible to do that? All right, we're ready. Buy ingredients. The ingredients are very simple as always. Our food is simple and very satisfying. This is our pumpkin, meat, water, salt, pepper, all that. Well, and, accordingly, flour. Be sure to sift, because sometimes comes across any garbage. Today we will cook 2 Burma, so 1 kilogram of flour, half a liter of water, half a liter of water, half a liter of water and salt. The water is a little warm. I have, not cold in order for the salt to dissolve faster, and that's it. Approximately 1 tablespoon of salt, minimum. My mother often talked about a rolling pin. So, one guy decided to get married. He comes to his mother and says, "Mom, I'm getting married." "Okay, son." He says there is a problem, 2 girls, but which one to choose I don't know. He says what to do. She says not a problem at all, son. Tell these girls that I need a piece of dry dough. The more the better, on a rolling pin. And tomorrow I'll tell you which one to marry. Well, then the guy went to one girl and said so and so. That's how my mother said. I need a piece of higher dough from a rolling pin. And a girl like that with long nails, beautiful curly hair, painted, ran, and brought him a lot of dry dough. He decided to go to another, went. The second came out, neat, nails clean, hands clean, beautifully combed. So, he says, "Sorry, I don't have dry dough. We don't have dough left. Sorry, maybe next time." Okay, that's the end of it. He comes home, gives the dough. Well, do you already know how it ended? Who did she recommend? In short, the meaning of the fable is that the rolling pin must be clean. And, of course, his mother advised him a girl whose rolling pin is clean. So now we will first notice the dough, so that it is convenient to work with it. If it is very soft, it will stick to the rolling pin, and if it is very hard, then we simply cannot roll it out correctly. As they say, for me it was half an hour, and for you 1 minute passed. Now, we are all set. The first stage, we must wrap it in a film. We have such a cling film today. If we didn't have it before, but today we have it, so we will use this film. And postpone it. And put it aside so that it does not interfere with us. So now we move on to the fillings. We need to grate the pumpkin. So I cut it. Pumpkin, pumpkin. What do we need for this? Pumpkin, salt, sugar, and nuts. And also butter, which we will melt. We rub the pumpkin on graters, on the largest one. We'll salt it a little bit, put it in a cup, salt it some more. What gives us salt? Under the influence of salt, the pumpkin begins to give juice. And when it stands a little with us, we will then squeeze this juice out of the pumpkin. Why do we need it? Because if we do not squeeze the juice from us, this one of our Burma will blur and it will not be very beautiful. This is enough for one serving. Now we salt it. A little salt. A little. You don't need much. And we must add salt. A little bit and mix. This is all a household so that the pumpkin begins to give up its juice. Everything is ready with this. We leave it. Well, for now we will make minced meat. Work with meat. So, let's get to the stuffing. We got to the main point. We need meat, onions, salt, pepper. So let's get to the meat. Knives must be sharp. Today we will be, as usual, as always. When I cook, I use 2 knives when we make minced meat. This means useful advice. I do not get tired of talking about it. If you have such a ceramic knife at home, then it is very convenient for them to sharpen it. So, everyone, we share the meat. It cuts meat perfectly, always perfect. The question arises when we prepare our dishes, Crimean Tatar, traditional dishes. Many people can see, and they will be right, that these dishes are very fatty, very high calorie. If we go back in time, fast forward 100 years ago, what will we see? How did a person work? What did they produce? What were they busy with? Steppe, this means crops, livestock, and mountains, foothills, south coast. Everywhere we will see agriculture, viticulture, tobacco cultivation, fruits are grown. That is, they worked from morning to evening to achieve the result. It's not today that a person has started drinking coffee and can earn, as it were, more in a day around a computer than that person in a year. So, about fatty food, it seems to us today that it is fatty, to a modern person. And we look at it all. And we have a question. They ate so much fatty food. Any of our food is very fatty. But if we look at photographs of past years, and photography appears at the end of the 19th century, since then we can see people who were before, 100 years, 200 years ago. Then we will not see fat people in the photographs. Has anyone seen fat people in old photographs? No, or very little. You can talk for a long time. And no one will make minced meat for us, as usual, with 2 knives. I have already spoken about this. This is the only way minced meat was cooked in our house. Fatty, good meat. Everything, the last approach in minced meat is ready for us. Gently transfer the minced meat here. Then we'll have an onion next. So it's such a big one. Well, let's see. Look, we have to chop the onion, so smaller, with such squares. We do not carefully cut our hands with a knife. I say this to myself. This is how I cook at home, right? Enough so much. No, enough. And pepper. Takes a lot of time. This is the preparation of the filling. And everything else will happen quickly for us now. Here we remove this side. Now our task is to squeeze the pumpkin juice out of our pumpkin. We must squeeze the pumpkin. We will definitely squeeze it out. We will squeeze out all the juice, and we will squeeze it out like this with our hands. So, that's it. There is a pumpkin, nuts. Now we have nuts in the recipe. In order to crush the nuts, again, I want to show you how they were crushed before. Well, before it was not 100 years ago, it was literally in our house in Uzbekistan. That is, today no one thinks. Grind it without hesitation on a blender. Grind it. What else is it called? At our house it was done so simply a little bit. We fry the nuts. If there is moisture, we remove it in order to make it easier to chop. No need to fry. Our task is to remove excess moisture. So our task was simply to dry. There is nothing more magical there. And we take a rock. You definitely need to do this. This is in order to relax the audience. Look, everyone takes cooking very seriously. In general, everything has its own measure. This is a creative process. You need to relax and enjoy the process. Now we start the test. Made it to this point, happy. We return our board to its place. So where's our flour? A little bit we will need to roll out the dough. Why should it be insisted? See what it becomes? Everything is prescribed. It becomes elastic. So we will share it now. This is for one serving. This is for the second. We put this aside. Suddenly the guests will come. Yes? Do we have enough of this? Enough. There is. So, we have the dough ready. I will soon become a professional, so if anything, call someone who has a wedding there. I'll cook delicious food for you. So, melted butter. We immediately begin to cook it. Copper frying pan, ideal dishes. Ghee, butter, melt again. So, eat gently, slowly. The oil is hot. Be careful. Safety precautions. I remembered history. Same often such stories happen with the mother-in-law and the bride. In everyday life on the kitchen table, before, probably, everyone had a colored tablecloth. There were all sorts of patterns on it, and the requirement for the daughter-in-law was such that the pattern was clearly visible through the rolled dough. This served as a marker that the dough was ready. Therefore, come to a new family with your tablecloth on which there's no pattern. Just white. Heavy. It turned out a lot. We got it. A good dish. There will be a lot of toppings in Burma. We distribute the meat evenly in a beautiful, even layer. Meat, dough, onion, pepper, already delicious. The oven is already here. Now we have specially trained a man is watching. When the dough turns white, he will wave his hand to us and we will all turn it up and carry it there. Now we wrap it up nicely. This requires skill and individual skill. I say this as a professional. I do it every day. Here you see Burma, or rather Sarma Burma. Why it is called so? There is such a name, Sar Burma. That is. Now we are turning off. That's how Sarma. He's just overthrown. Just turn off. But Burma. We compact a little. This movement means for Burma. That is, twist, wrap like this. Drill. Where does the word drill come from? Here from here. Where are the dishes? Specially made for this case. Exactly the same as it was before. Where should I put it for convenience? This is one of those moments when the job is done and then you can ruin everything. Neatly. We take it from below by the tummy and put it right here, carefully. You see how beautiful it turned out, how beautiful it lies. And you won't praise yourself. Well, I hope you praise me. Now we have to anoint it from above, and here it is my oil. Here is a tribute to modernity. This is a brush. This is a special one made of plastic. I didn't find a goose. I didn't catch up with one goose, otherwise I would have been anointed with a goose feather right now, with a goose feather. Previously, every kitchen had such a broom. Maybe someone remembers one like a broom made of goose feathers. We have already moved on to fultu. My favorite dish. One of my favorite dishes. I'm not a glutton, but I love to eat. This probably affects my South Coast roots. I made a promise to myself not to divide the Crimean Tatars into regions and sub-ethnos. But here again I could not resist, because the dishes are different. Suppose we can find pumpkin in our food in any combination with meat, and with sugar, and with honey, and with raisins, with nuts, with anything. Pumpkin is generally considered, saying, our heavenly dish. And at the wake, we can eat pieces of pumpkin for cookies and sprinkle nuts on top. Well, how does it sound? Next comes the walnut. A nut is just a crushed nut, which I have already shown you how to do. If someone says, I don't know, no more questions for me. Watch our shows carefully. We will not teach you bad things, only the most delicious. So I sprinkled sugar and immediately remember our life today. How different it is from what it used to be. Now every calorie count. Now many girls watch in horror as I pour sugar on top. Don't worry, girls, cook it all. If you don't eat it yourself, then give it away and rejoice at your loved ones. So now we turn everything. It's all beautiful. Sar Burma is also called in some regions of the Crimea. They speak with Sar Burma. I have always heard differently. Well, I'm like every sandpiper praises his swamp. I always think that they say Sari Burma in fultu, but in fact they explained to me that it is Sari Burma, that is, folded, and then there was a roll, that is, twisted. These are different things. That is, this is how we now twist. And it turns out such beauty. We still have that juice left, so we will anoint them. It is so orange, and we'll see what happens. Look, I don't do this every day. Therefore, you skillful housewives, be a little indulgent with me. And whoever thinks that I did something wrong, feel free to write to us, and we will quickly learn. It was necessary to smear inside this one already. Here, well done. Everything is beautiful. Well done. You won't praise yourself. The second time you praised.
Та-дам! Все, у нас фулту готов. Фулту мы будем выпекать.
Everything is ready.
Дома.
Fultu is ready. Then we will bake our oven at home to save time. And we will cook Burma in the traditional way in the oven.
Будем готовить традиционным способом.
Everyone, let's go outside.
Поехали на улицу. Здесь. Ага. Отлично. Процесс идет. Так.
So before we put it down, we are clearing the place. We need to free the space. Yes.
Освободить это пространство. Есть. Все, пошло дело. Свинья.
We start, lay down and note the time.
Вкладываем, засекаем время. Так, и
And now
теперь
look,
смотрите, если мы
if
там,
we are in that
в той
electric oven,
электрической печке,
we will bake in that oven.
духовке
Then we have
выпекать,
modern devices there.
фулту,
There are all sorts
и
of
там у нас есть
sensors,
современные приспособления,
temperatures, etc.
датчики всякие, температуры.
The handle is easily adjustable in general.
Легко регулируется, короче. То здесь
Then here we should already
мы должны
intuitively
уже,
peep. We should
интуитивно,
purely visually
подсматривать
observe the
должны,
process.
чисто визуально наблюдать за процессом.
And we will cover it so that it seems to have the same temperature from all sides now. But still every 10 minutes we will monitor it.
Такая температура. Но все равно каждые 5-10 минут мы будем за ним следить. А
In the
пока мы
meantime,
пойдем фулту поставим в
we'll go
духовку.
full to put the oven on. So the whole dish goes into the oven.
Пошел в духовку.
I set it to 200 degrees.
Это 200
We will bake for
градусов, будем
50
выпекать
minutes.
50 минут. Время пошло.
Time is gone.
Так, это ставим сюда.
Let's put it here. Oh,
Горячий.
but, of course, here it was a little bit under fire.
Немножечко подгорело.
But this is an oven. These are acceptable things.
Это
Now send there we still have fultu in the oven.
пошлите туда, у нас там еще фулту.
Oh ho ho.
Хо-хо-хо.
I think I'm a
По-моему, я
big
большой
guy.
молодец. Вот и фулту
Here is our
наш.
dish.
Теперь нам
Now the
самое
most
главное.
important thing. And the most important thing is to try.
Начнем с бурма.
Let's start with Burma.
С бурма. Ну-ка,
Let's
это
start with
подгорело.
Burma.
Наоборот, должно быть
It's
еще
burnt,
вкуснее.
which means it should be even tastier.
Мешает
Wait, the
ложка.
spoon is in the way.
Вообще, по-хорошему,
In general,
мы
for
это
good we
должны
should cover
накрыть,
it, and it
и
should
оно
stand a
должно
little.
немножко постоять,
10,
здесь 15,
15,
20.
20 minutes.
Соки пропитают вот
Juices
это
will
вот
saturate
тесто
this
сухое,
dough.
пока
Dry while
сухое.
dry. It will become tender and tasty, respectively, when it is all saturated with juices. And now we immediately take it dry.
Когда оно все пропитается соками, а сейчас мы прямо его сразу берем на сухую. Оба-на, фулту.
This is a traditional food from the south coast Crimean Tatars.
Это традиционная еда южнобережных
It is also called differently, in different ways.
по-другому еще называют
What is hot?
хабахлы.
Therefore, we will try with a spoon.
Ложкой.
Cannot wait.
Попробую. Мне не терпится.
Delicious. Every time I make sure that when we cut everything with a knife, we keep the pieces intact, no matter what. Meat, onions. What else do we have?
Вот фулту мне больше
Potatoes.
всего, что
It's
нравится.
all whole. All the juices are mixed.
Оно сладкое блюдо.
And the dough mixed, and plus butter. It's just fantastic.
Красиво.
It's just
И
delicious.
кого подавали? Хошав.
I really like the result today. Very tasty.
Вот он с нами.
And I almost forgot how to eat it.
Так, как же его покушать?
Now,
Сейчас я его вот так с
with your
вашего
permission,
разрешения порежу,
I will cut it like this.
Мгм. Ой, слушайте, ну, я очень
Listen.
переживал за
Well, I was very worried about our oven because it got a little burnt,
немножко
but the
подгорел.
taste turned out very tasty.
Вкус
Very
очень
tasty.
вкусно. Но получилось очень вкусно.
So you try.
Так что вы пробуйте. Так что
Bon appetit.
Ахтафлосун, Бюрнус.
And we'll see you on the next
Мы
show.
с вами увидимся в следующей передаче.
I think it will also be just as interesting.